Good morning, Dubai. Happy Thursday. Welcome back to Lovin Dubai show, where we go through the top trending stories that everyone across the country is talking about. Big story today. Dubai is transforming once again. We have the lowdown on what's actually happening.
And Dubai is slashing public debt by 29 billion dirhams. Big moves for the city.
Next story, it could have been me, it might have been you, but it was one person. They got scammed nearly 4,000 dirham on a website that looks absolutely legitimate, so my heart goes out to them.
And after today's top trending stories, we'll be sitting down with Dr. Saliha Afridi, who will be sharing tips on dealing with childhood disorders.
We're talking school anxiety, playground triggers, advice for you parents. Dr. Saliha Afridi is a clinical psychologist. She's the co-founder and managing director of Lighthouse Arabia. So we're truly excited to have her on the show to get all of your answers and answers to your questions to you, and that's at 8:50. But before we get there, I had a little bit of a run-in with my partner.
Tell me more.
Why do you look so happy about that?
No, because I feel like it's tea.
It's a weird one, and I actually need to put this to you, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, if this ever happened to you, because I feel like a creep, I feel like a stalker, and the logical answer is that it was me.
Yes. Okay, what happened? What happened?
Okay, so I have 3 AirTags. No biggie.
3 AirTags.
3 AirTags. These Apple AirTags, the tracking devices. I have 3 tracking devices. You put them in suitcase, you put them in fancy handbags, you put them in your wallet, so if ever they go lost, you can find it. My keys, for example, have an AirTag. Anywho, Dale was like, hey, did you put a tracker on me?
Did you?
And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, he showed me his phone. He had, for the last 2 days, he'd been getting pings for an Apple AirTag tracker. And then he was able to click it open at the time, and it showed the route. So basically it showed that he had gone from where we live to somewhere else where I hadn't been, where my AirTags hadn't been. So he was like, it's fine. You just want to know where I am. I was like, no. I was like, no.
That wasn't you. You didn't put any AirTags in any of his luggage, suitcases, wallets, nothing.
Let me just think back in case I did it. And of course I didn't. Of course I didn't. But has that ever happened to anyone? Has anyone ever been pinged by an AirTag that wasn't on them?
I so feel like no, it's like such a breach of privacy, but I feel like that's something I would even consider, just putting an AirTag in my partner's suitcase or wallet and just go like, it's for your safety. It's for your safety, but it's
yeah, you might consider
more
you never
for
do it.
my well-being.
You'd never do it. And also you could potentially have the conversation, in case anything happens, I just want to know, because you could do those phone sharing things. You can easily hook up your phone to know where someone is, but to do it and not tell them. But then
they have nothing to be afraid of if they're not hiding anything, right?
But
right?
Right? Exactly. Well, he's like, he was like, you can track me if you want. And I'm like, no, I don't want.
I want to try.
I don't want. Well, maybe I want, but I don't want. But I would have told you. But there's no other explanation. Like, who's tracking him?
Guys, drop in your answers. This is a conundrum that I have no idea about because I don't deal with AirTags yet.
The only logical explanation is that it's me, because but then I showed
maybe
him.
It was your subconscious, like you were sleepwalking and you did it in like a subconscious state that you don't really remember,
I checked. Yeah, I know, but I checked my AirTags and it showed when he left the house the next time that they're all where they should be. So it didn't like fall into a wallet or anything. I don't know. Oops! Oh, there it is. How did that end up on your lad's trip to Ibiza? I don't know.
Oh my God! Imagine he tells you he's going to, I'm going to France for a business trip, but he's actually not in France. He's in Dubai this whole while, and you can check it because you have an AirTag on him that he has no idea about. Not that we are promoting this kind of not stalkerish, this kind of investigative behavior.
Yes, we're not. Well, we're not, but I just.
But is it stalking or investigating?
Stalking,
because
it's probably illegal.
Such a fine line, because Snapchat maps have they show you exactly where you are.
Yeah, it's weird.
So is that stalking or just like you're concerned about the other person?
It's an uncomfortable level of privacy invasion, I would say.
Yes. Or they just want to
They're
make
really
sure
cheap,
you're safe.
just FYI. I was hoping someone would be able to give me responses to that happens and that's normal. So now I'm concerned for his.
We have people watching from Istanbul this morning. Good morning, you guys. Malawi, we have Delhi, we have Mustafa, who is from Istanbul.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
Okay,
morning, Manu Deepdro.
Joe Gila, it's like it's her birthday. Happy birthday, Joe!
It's also our birthday because we're off tomorrow
Oh,
for an important reason.
important, yes.
8:37 on this Thursday morning. Let's jump into our top stories. Dubai is transforming again. His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Crown Prince of Dubai, has approved a new transformational project as part of the third cycle of Dubai 10X. The projects approved were carefully selected from a huge pool of 79 business project ideas across government sectors, and they were jointly developed by over 120 government employees, and they'll target key areas. So Dubai is going to transform transportation, aviation, urban planning, and healthcare.
The ultimate goal is to inspire the creation of innovative and unconventional projects and initiatives on a global scale, specifically tailored to tracking and tackling upcoming challenges and embracing new opportunities. His Highness said, "We have approved a comprehensive set of transformational projects which are set to enhance Dubai's trajectory towards an innovative, dynamic future. Our objective is to ensure that the results of these projects distinctly elevate quality of life for both Dubai's residents and visitors by not only enhancing their well-being but also prioritizing their health and overall living standards."
I love how the city does this. I love how the city lays out the roadmap to the future and our better well-being, and this is why the city is constantly innovating and improving because of projects like this. This is a third phase of 10X, as we've mentioned. Now, these new projects are poised to streamline and expedite transportation within Dubai. For example, they're looking at new routes from Dubai Airport to improve that, enhance the travel experience at Dubai airports, and establish a robust healthcare system for early disease detection. So it's going to be more a better framework around the healthcare system for early disease detection, which is amazing. And I know that wellness and health well-being is becoming such a big part of the conversation, you know, now earlier than ever before. I think rather than waiting for, you know, to find out that you have something, I think people are really seeking advice on health.
Yeah.
They are, you know, getting blood tests, getting all sorts of exams to know in advance if anything's coming up. And Dubai is now going to assist that with these new projects, which is really cool.
And it's because of initiatives like this, like Dubai is championed all over the world in terms of like smart technology, in terms of development, in terms of just taking feedback and criticism into account and working on those things and always just like bettering themselves, enhancing themselves, elevating themselves. So it's just a whole bunch of amazing new initiatives that they have rolled out and that they are going to be rolling out in the coming years. And one such thing that they have been working on for quite a while is slashing debt by 29 billion dirhams in just 16 months, which they have achieved. Dubai's government has made impressive strides in managing its public debt, reducing it by approximately 29 billion dirhams, which is $7.9 billion, to reach 25% of the Emirates' domestic product within just 16 months. This significant achievement follows the establishment of the Public Debt Management Office, PDMO, in May of the previous year, operating under the Dubai Department of Finance, which is the DOF.
Despite facing global economic challenges, which I think we're all keenly aware of and watching with a keen eye, the Department of Finance not only improved Dubai's financial efficiency, but also capitalized on opportunities. These efforts included redeeming Sukuk certificates worth 3.3 billion, repaying bilateral and syndicated facilities totaling 5.2 billion, and partially settling 20 billion of financing extended by the Abu Dhabi government and the UAE Central Bank.
Their public debt to GDP ratio now sits comfortably at 25%, way below the usual international benchmark of 40 to 60%. In simple terms, Dubai's got its finances in a good place, and it's all about being a smart player on the world's economic stage. And the real kicker here is that Dubai managed all of this while gearing up for some major projects like Dubai Urban Plan 2040 and Dubai Economic Agenda D33. So in that situation, when you look at it in that perspective, it's like they have all these massive projects lined up, yet they were focusing on repaying the debt that they owe to all these big entities before they started with their plans to just enhance the city. And if we tie this into the financial conversation we had a few days ago, and it's like, if you break it down, right, because the financial expert here, Wali Khan, he was just telling us like, when you have debts lined up, you look at repaying them. You look at repaying the ones with the highest interest rates, or you just make sure you get the debts out of the way so you can focus on growing your wealth. And that is exactly what the city is doing.
It's so interesting that you mention Wally Khan, because we had an expert giving us financial tips, and I think about, Dubai has got its ducks in order, so then maybe we should also be doing the same, taking tips from Dubai in terms of, reducing debt. As an individual, we can also do the same. So Wally Khan's tips were...
Yeah, sound. What?
Sound.
Oh, what were the tips you're asking? Just paying off your debts. Either you have that psychological way of paying off your debts, which is one at a time, starting with the smallest amount to the largest amount. And then there's a practical way of paying off debts, which is starting with the one with the highest interest rates. So that's completely out of the way, and then working your way towards the lower interest rates. So it's not it doesn't mount up to a massive sum at the end of the cycle.
Very interesting. And if you want to look back over that interview, it really was very helpful. It was live on Friday or a few days ago, but we also have it on our website as well if you'd like to take a look. Jumping into our next story, our hackers out to this one resident, scammed nearly 4,000 dirham from a website that looks extremely legitimate. Do not give your details to unknowns. That is the message from above, and it's the message from us. We have another scam story today. In an unfortunate incident, a Dubai resident lost 3,800 dirham after attempting to recharge their mobile on a fake Do website. The scam serves as a stark reminder to remain vigilant when conducting online transactions. Now, if you look at the story that we shared yesterday, you can see in the carousel how legitimate it looked, and the person actually put keywords into Google, and one of the top ranking examples was the fake Do website. That ranked very highly, so very easy to click onto it. So even when you put this search into Google, you could also, it's not just emails coming to your phone, it's not just WhatsApps coming to your phone, it's not just messages, it's also Google websites that you search could also. So I think there's a lot of work there on the Google side to be done to reduce these scam bot websites, because it does look extremely legitimate.
You know what's a scary part? Because before we would be assured back in school, if the website has a lock sign, a secure sign on the URL, you're pretty much okay to go ahead and use that website for transactions. But now it's become so elaborate, these scams and web designers and hackers, they can very easily fake that secure icon which comes up in your URL bar. So you cannot even rely on that anymore for your transactions.
True, and look,
because that's what I relied on for my transaction.
How much were you scammed?
Approximately 2,000, 1.8, 1.9.
You're not alone, and that's the thing. When we shared this story yesterday on Lovin, you can see it on the carousel. A couple of people jumped in saying the very same thing happened to them. It's so easy.
Yeah.
It's not, it's happening to everyone. And I look at this website that we shared and how legitimate it looks. It looks the very same apart from that URL. And, we say remain vigilant, but
it's so difficult. Because you don't know. When you're in the situation, you don't know.
When you're making a deal online,
you don't know. And it happens to you, and you're just you could have done better. You could have, done your due diligence, but sometimes it just happens and you're in a rush, you have a million things on your mind.
Exactly.
So, especially in this situation where the website looks ditto, the same, and she just went on to recharge her card. It's just in the most unexpected of all ways that she got scammed. It's horrible. It's literally
thing
horrible.
is, we always do say remain vigilant, but I think it's important to be aware that also the authorities are working really hard to stamp out these scams. They have awareness campaigns for us, but also behind the scenes. We regularly hear stories of a group being apprehended from a warehouse here and there where they're actually conducting this type of gross behavior. So just a quick reminder to all, remain as vigilant as possible. We're going to jump in to our interview very shortly after this break. We're going to be joined by Dr. Saliha Afridi. Tips on childhood disorders. Parents, please stay tuned. This is going to be very helpful for you. That's going to be shortly. Bye-bye. Welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show, School Anxiety, Playground Triggers, Advice for Parents. Today we are joined by Dr. Salia Afridi, clinical psychologist and founder and managing director of the incredible Lighthouse Arabia, to look at some issues parents might be facing, and her purpose is to give you the courage to address these challenges and guide you on the path to happiness. Welcome to the show, Dr. Salia. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you for having me. It's
Appreciate
a pleasure.
your time as always.
Sure.
Thank you. So how long have you been in this business and how long have you been dealing with children and mentoring them?
Well, I have 4 children of my own, so I've been dealing with that for 18 years. But I've been a psychologist for about 19 years and been in the country for 15. And the Lighthouse has been around for almost 13 years.
Wow. Before we jump into our key topic of the day, can you just give people a rundown of the Lighthouse and everything that it does? Because it's truly amazing and it deserves a platform.
Thank you. So the Lighthouse is a mental health and wellness center. It serves all your mental health needs from childhood all the way through to the elderly. We have psychology, psychiatry, speech and language therapy, as well as occupational therapy. We also we deal with children, adults, couples therapy, family therapy. So basically, if it has to do with mental health, we can do it.
Amazing.
You know, I heard a lot about the Lighthouse when I was in school. Like, we used to have our counselors suggesting, like, you know, go to Lighthouse for like parents and for students who are struggling with academics, struggling with behavior, attitudes. So what do you feel like you get a surge of clients when after school starts?
For sure. I mean, Dubai or the UAE also has like a culture where in the summer months there's like this mass exodus that happens. People go to their home countries or they just leave to get a break from the summer. And then they come back end of August. So it's a huge period of adjustment for people that are local, expat, children, adult, it doesn't matter. Most people are adjusting during September, October. And anytime you leave and come back or you have an adjustment, it can take about 40 days, about 6 weeks for people to get into a really good rhythm of things. Interestingly enough, some schools have a break that is in October, like around October 16th, and that's precisely at the 6-week mark. And it's like, no, but we just got adjusted. But it could, and then you have to reset the adjustment, which is not helpful, but I'm sure everybody appreciates that break. So whenever you are thinking about an adjustment, think, okay, I need 6 weeks to get into a good rhythm of things. And that's for adults as well as children.
It's a long time.
Yeah. It takes about that time.
You know, we associate going back to school with like school bags and new lunch boxes and drawings on the walls and things, but obviously it is a difficult time for someone. If kids are struggling with the adjustment period, as a parent, how would I actually notice? What are the signs? So
usually for children, there's many different reasons why they could just find that adjustment a little bit difficult. First of all, they're going into a new school year. It's a new teacher, it's a new classroom. So every year they're going to have to adjust. So separation anxiety can kick on for some children, and some level of separation anxiety is normal, but if it's really resulting in school refusal, then you really want to pay attention. You want to get consultation with a professional. Academic performance, a lot of kids struggle with academic performance, but they also have a lot of pressure. Pressure from parents, pressure from just the world about, I have to get this right. So depending on the age, they're going to struggle with that. And then social issues. That's a huge thing for anywhere between 12 to 18. You're going to see that kids are going to be struggling with that as an issue. So having that in mind as a parent, I think you're going to have to approach each one a little bit differently. Now, for parents, it's going to be super, super important that you be comfortable with your own emotions. What I see most often in parents is that they don't have an emotional vocabulary, or they are so stressed that there's no space for them to be able to regulate their child. And the biggest message that I would give to the parents is that you are their co-regulator. Their nervous system, their ability to regulate themselves, cope, is not developed until they're in their mid-20s or early 20s, I should say. And so what we want to do is we are attuning to the child, and we're helping them metabolize and process a lot of what they're going through. So if I am wound up, and if I am stressed, and if I don't have an emotional vocabulary, I cannot contain that child. I cannot know that, oh, looks like they had a difficult day. I'm going to have to spend a bit more time being with them today. And being with them is very important. So the last thing that I would say here is that put the devices away when you have those 2-3 hours after school with your child, especially for working parents. Your time is very limited. Put it away and really heart to heart, eye to eye, ear to ear, soul to soul, be with that child, because being with them is actually what is regulating them.
So you would suggest be more expressive with your children, so then they use that means to kind of express themselves. They see it from their parents, so they themselves copy that, right?
For sure. Children do as we do, not as we say. And so if you are doing emotional intelligence, they will do emotional intelligence. And what I can say is that most adults don't have a vocabulary for emotions. They say sad, mad, happy, disappointed, maybe they say that, but that's it. They won't have anything beyond that. And the more granular you are in your emotional vocabulary, the more you are going to be able to help that child articulate what they're going through. So if my 8-year-old daughter comes and she just looks really upset, I can say, okay, you look really upset. What happened at school? And then she tells me. And then she'll say that, my friend pushed me and I felt very betrayed. She actually said this recently. And so betray, people don't use words like that, but when the research shows that when you name an emotion, you tame the emotion. So the more granular you are about that. So there's a difference between being anxious and being worried, concerned, jittery, uneasy, panicked, all of these, and there's a whole spectrum before you get to panic. So how do we help our children name the small emotions? That's going to be a big, big role for parents, especially because it's not happening at school.
So interesting that you look at the role of parents, because you mentioned a number of maybe key stages that for kids. So for example, at the beginning could be separation anxiety. I used to teach in Dubai and we saw a lot of that at the beginning of the year. Children bawling, crying throughout the day for hours and hours, and all they did was they missed their mom. So what can parents actually do in that situation? Is that more of a parent needing to learn how to kind of deal with those emotions, or is it maybe more in the child? Where's the balance there?
I think it's both. My advice for the next school year would be that start earlier. Don't start a month before, but start the week before. Start prepping the child. Start showing them, okay, this is going to be your school bag. For children that are very nervous, I might even take them into where their nursery will be before the day, because then all the kids are crying and everyone is, so they might be like, where am I? This is a new place. This is a new teacher. So I might actually ask the teacher to say, hey, listen, can I just come in and have them meet with you one-on-one before the day? Even if it's the day before. Go a little bit earlier, spend some time with them in the school, let them know that, okay, when the clock turns this hand, I will come get you. You will feel nervous. You will be worried. It's okay. I'm going to be here right at this time, and then be there right at that time. So it's important to take them through that whole journey and name what some of the things they might be feeling. Also giving them an object that they can hold on to. Sometimes parents give a little squishy ball or a bracelet that they wear, that the mom wears and the child wears, and that way there's like an invisible string that keeps us together. There's all these little things that they've created now, like they buzz and tingle and all of that stuff, so parents can stay connected to their child. So that it's important about going through that journey, but then also realizing that once they do get there, it'll still be hard. And the first week, they will be a little bit dysregulated. As a parent, I would eliminate all things that I can eliminate from my schedule at that point. and be fully present for that child. So I'm not going out with my friends. I'm not taking on things that I don't need to take on. Of course, I work, so I have to go to work. But if I can say, listen, I need to be there during the transition times, I've got to pick up my child. So in that first week, I am the one picking up that child rather than...
But for parents, it's not for all parents it's possible, right? Like some have to rely on school buses and shuttle services. So what do you suggest for parents who are so busy with work and just don't have the time? Like any tips for them?
Well, I would say that this will be your school bus and you will go on the school bus as much as possible. I would say find a way, take leave, do what you need to do, especially if your child is highly anxious. Not every child is going to be that way. I would say take a half day and show up for your child in the first 5 days. And usually schools have shorter days or longer days, depending on the age of the child. But the younger children do need a little bit more assistance. This is not going to be an ongoing thing, but it does matter on how quickly they will get adjusted. If they go on the school bus, it might take them a little bit longer to get adjusted. So if you can take leave, to work half days, ask for flexible time. A lot of workplaces are now doing that, where you say, listen, I'm just going to take an hour out of my day. Can I have my lunch be at 2 to 3 instead of 12 to 1? And I think workplaces will accommodate that.
And speaking of just emoting, right, and like children going in with so much anxiety, a lot of kids at a very early age develop like aggressive, a little bit of violent behavior. Do you know the root of that cause? Is it to do with like the family environment? Is it to do with like their anxious personality? What exactly is the root of it, and how do they overcome that, or how do you deal with it?
So the answer is yes. It has to do with everything that you named. Like I said, children do as we do. So if there is aggression in the home, and that is how they are being disciplined, yelling, shouting, pushing, any of that, then for sure you will see that they will do that. But children, oftentimes when they are dysregulated, and when I say dysregulated, when the emotion they have is more that they can process, that is considered a trauma, a small t trauma within their system. And their nervous system is overwhelmed at that time, and they might just start acting out. And acting out might come in the form of aggression. And so when we look at a child and they're acting out, or they're yelling and they're screaming, I'm not saying, what is he doing? I'm thinking, what happened to you? And that's the question more parents need to be asking, like, what happened? Because that's not a normal state for a child. It is not a typical state for a child. They're playful, they're young, they're creative, they're open, they're all of that. So when the child is not acting like that, there's something that they are not able to process themselves that we have to help them process.
Do you think it's always a home environment? Because in one home you can have two siblings, right? One is just very easygoing, very chilled out, and one is like aggressive. So is it always a home environment? Because how can the same place produce two very different personalities?
Because we are two very different nervous systems, and we are two different people. I have 4 children. I can tell you as a mother, I have to be 4 different mothers. This one, I have to lay low. This one, I have to nudge. This one, I have to push. This one, I don't even bother with. So it's about how am I going to be? It's almost like you're like a horse whisperer, but you're like a child whisperer. And how do I get each child to live their full potential? Just because it's one home and one mother, even what they evoke in me is 4 different things. Because this one really frustrates me because I have to say things 5 times. This one I'm so easy with. So there's a space between the 2 of us also. So it's never the same environment, ever. If you have more than one child, you are more than one mother or father. You are more than one caregiver, because what they pull in you creates the dynamic also. And just because a child is calm and chill doesn't mean that they're all good. Sometimes they're dissociated. Sometimes they're so flooded that they look chill, but they're actually overwhelmed. So really you have to be very attuned to say, what's going on with this child of mine? And how can I be with this child of mine? What do they need in particular?
So interesting. We've discussed adjustment for young, early age children, but of course, separation anxiety may not extend until they're 12, 13, but adjustment issues do continue. So, for example, at the beginning, you mentioned social anxieties that teens, for example, might have. So, for teenagers going back to school, what are they facing that parents might be able to look out for?
Oh, I mean, I really feel for teens these days, man. I don't know. Like, I don't think I would have been, like, I'm feeling it for them because I have 3 teenagers right now. So they're all in the thick of the stress of academic pressure. I think the academic pressure that they have, having to juggle their extracurricular activities, their sleep, their socializing, their, hobbies. It's almost like there's not enough time in the day. So it's a lot of pressure that they're going through. But what is on top of all of that is that they're going through what we call a window of sensitivity. And their brain is going through massive development at this time. I know when we look at teenagers, we're like, oh, he's so hormonal, or she. It actually isn't. Well, hormones has a lot to do with it, but they're also going through massive brain development at that time. And so these reactions that you might get from them. I think what parents can do to support their child is to really understand the development of teenage brain and body. Because once you realize that, you're like, I'm just not going to react to that one. I'm going to let that one go because that just came out of nowhere. But what parents do is they start to get into it with that teenager, and that just exacerbates the situation. I am not saying do not draw boundaries. Like if my son walked out and he slammed the door, I would follow him and I would say, you can come back and you can close the door in a way that is gentle. We're not slamming doors in this house. So I might do something like that, but I'm not going to chase after him and fight with him and call him disrespectful and any of those things that parents can get into. So teenagers are, and I would make a call out to all mothers who have been pregnant. Imagine going through your pregnancy for 5 years. And that is what the teenager is going through. Their brain, their body, their social, their emotional, their work, like everything is under pressure at that time. So be gentle, be kind, be firm, be connected, build the relationship. A lot of times parents say, well, he doesn't talk to me. Don't talk. Just go hang out with him. Do what he does. Play with him what he plays. If he's on basketball, go play basketball. Go for a walk. And somewhere in that, he will say something that will be your window into his world. So don't force the talking. Just hang out and be their friend. Or I should say, be friendly with them. Don't be their friend. They need a parent at that time. But be friendly with them. Connect with them.
My God, this is amazing advice that you're dishing out one after the other. But like you said, it's for teenagers, it's always so complicated in their, school years, with academics, with socials, getting to know themselves, finding themselves. And they start developing coping mechanisms, like the weirdest of all coping mechanisms that they see on TV or catch from movies, like, OCD, eating disorders, like different kinds of behavior, either too aggressive or too reserved. So what would you advise to either kids or parents to kind of, work around that? Because these kind of coping mechanisms can be so difficult to tackle. Like if one of the kids develop an eating disorder, in these situations, how would you advise?
For sure, it is a difficult time for them, developmentally speaking. And they will have bad days and they will have sad days. But if those bad days and sad days or difficult days are now becoming persistent, and now they're affecting the way they socialize or the way they engage with their academics or the way they are in the world, if they start to withdraw, if they start to get disordered with their eating and they're starting to,
some develop insomnia as well.
If they're not sleeping properly, if there's changes in their appetite or in their sleep or in their motivation or in their academic performance, if that starts to persist, and when we say persist, it's like most days than not for over 2 weeks, you are sensing that this is going on, I would contact a professional. This is not something you should handle on your own. This is something that needs to be addressed professionally. You cannot deal with an eating disorder on your own. you must work with a professional, and it is a deadly disorder. It is the deadliest disorder, is eating disorder. So if that child is starting to show some signs of that, contact a professional right away, because early intervention is as good as prevention. So you want to intervene early before that neural pathway starts to get fully formed, and we want to build that resilience, build that healthy relationship with their mind and body at an earlier age. So if you see that they're starting to look low mood, or they're anxious, or they're disordered in their eating, or they're repeating these compulsions, contact a professional.
But before that, is there anything they can do at home to just counsel their kids? And not just with eating disorders, right? Like sleeping disorders, with any kind of OCD in the spectrum, if they fall anywhere there.
You should, at home, be doing, the therapist will work with them once or twice a week. That's an hour or two. For sure, that's not going to be enough to manage a situation like that. As a parent, like I said earlier, you have to be a container. You have to be emotionally intelligent. You have to be emotionally aware. And you have to be able to validate their experience. Having a safe relationship at home where they can come and talk to you, where you don't dismiss. And one thing I would say is that parents dismiss a lot. Not because we're mean. I love my kids, but I've dismissed my children because they will come to me and say, oh, Susie didn't play with me today. It's okay, honey, you have so many other friends. Whoop, that was me dismissing right there. Because she's sad about Susie right now. I need to be with her about Susie. Okay, tell me about Susie. Tell me what happened. We don't create that connection and that deepening of what she's going through. We'd rather be like, no, everything is fine, move on. Because we as parents can't tolerate our child suffering. It is an instinctual response for me to say, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. But it's like, be with the worry for a little bit and sit with them in the worry. Be with them in the worry. Talk with them through the worry. And then eventually you come to the problem solving.
So important, and really important words on being emotionally aware parents. Unfortunately, our time is drawing to a close. Dr. Salia, thank you so much as always for joining us. If people would like to reach you, if they have any questions for you, how can they find you?
I think the best way is Instagram. I'm pretty good about responding to those. That would be the best way.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Welcome back anytime, guys. That is all we have time for in the Lovin Dubai show this morning. Have a brilliant long weekend, and we'll be back with you on Monday, same time, same place. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Have a great weekend.